Hi, welcome. It's Mary Ellen McGonigal, Senior Managing Director of Stocks here at Simpler, with your weekly Edge show for Friday, August 27th. Let's get started. Take a look at what we're going to be covering today. There was quite a bit in the way of news, and both economically and otherwise, that were very impactful to the markets. So we're going to take a look at that. Also, a review of where the current markets are, and then a deep dive behind that so that I can share with you where the relative outperformance is currently taking place in the markets so that you can take advantage of that. We will review stocks as well. And then one area of the markets that is showing particularly enticing charts and good news surrounding that area as well. So let's go ahead and begin with a look at some of those news items this week. First up, earlier in the week, the FDA did approve that Pfizer vaccine. And of course, that's good news. As more people get vaccinated, we can then reinitiate the reopening of the U.S. and then, of course, from there, economic expansion. In other news related to the vaccine and COVID, China did come out and reported no new cases for the virus for the week going into earlier this week. And that's very good news as well. Of course, the Chinese economy, as far as economic expansion globally, to see reduced COVID risk is very encouraging. Other big news came out later in the week, actually today. Fed Chair Powell did confirm that he will be initiating year-end tapering. In other words, the generous monetary policy will be pulled in a little bit. However, Powell did say he's not in a big rush, and the markets like that. That was very good news. There are going to be impactful occurrences beyond that I'm going to get into. Also, on the economic front, durable goods orders did increase. That's without the airplane orders. That's good news as the economy continues to expand. And we also saw the second quarter GDP revised a bit higher, and it was all about consumer spending, another strong area that's expected to remain strong, with consumers having high savings rates that are now being spent. With all of this, we did see a move back into those economically sensitive cyclical sectors. We'll get a bit into that. And then next week, we're going to be on the lookout for consumer confidence numbers, factory orders, and then the August unemployment report. All of that is due out next week. So let's go ahead from here and take a look at the markets. So here we are. We're taking a look at a daily chart of the S&P 500. We did end the week at a new high. The markets were up over 1.5% for the week. And let's take a look at these outside momentum indicators. Your RSI is above 50 and trending upward. And then also the stochastics. This is a faster moving momentum indicator I like to use for indices. We can see that this too is above this 50 in positive territory and heading north. So we have the broader markets in a healthy uptrend. So from here, I'm going to take us to a look at the underlying sectors within the S&P 500. So each of these are listed here. These are 2-month daily price charts. And beyond that, I've gone ahead and added this relative strength indicator and sorted these sectors in descending order. So up here in this upper left quartile, we're seeing these stronger areas, and then down below on the right side, some of the weaker areas currently in the broader markets. So let's take a look up here at this forefront. First up, we can see XLC. This is communication services, and we can take a look at the chart hitting a new high here. It's helpful when you are looking at these sectors that you have a sense of the underlying stocks that comprise a majority of it. For instance, XLC, it's all about Facebook and Google. Both stocks posted on average about 4% for the week, helping to boost that area. Let's take a look. Financials. This is an area that we highlighted last week, continuing to gain. It was the second best performer this week. We'll get into the reasons why. and share with you where you can participate in that current strength that we're seeing in financials. Take a look, technology up here in the forefront. On a percentage basis, it was not the top performer, but we can see that the group overall is in a very nice uptrend. This nice MACD black line up through the red, indicating that the upside momentum for tech is back in place, and we're going to get into where that strength is within the technology area. So let's go ahead and move on into those sub-industry groupings that I like to stay on top of. My focus is faster moving high growth stocks. So another 2-month daily price chart view, but here we have added the NASDAQ small cap stocks. We also want to pay attention to the 10-year yield, the dollar, biotechs, and then of course Brent oil. That was a big news item this week. And then some of these technology areas, software, IGV, SOXX is the semiconductor index, and then transportation stocks. And so from here, I've gone ahead and added that RSI descending, and we can take a look at where the strength is within the broader market. So let's take a look. This is a chart of IGV, the tech software ETF, and we can see it's charging to a new high, up almost 4%. A lot of that earnings driven. There's a lot of nice growth characteristics taking place underneath. A lot of, as I said, big earnings reports out. And then next up, also in tech, we can see semiconductors, and semiconductor stocks had a huge week, up over 5.5%, regaining their upside momentum. Let's take a look. I talked about this earlier, that black line up through the red, indicating that the upside momentum has now shifted into place. We can see that semiconductors, this index, has now advanced above each of these shorter term moving averages, allowing the index to trade higher. Your RSI trending upward and in positive territory. A number of great underlying stocks there. For those of you that have not, I would urge you to trial my MEM Edge report. We're all about software and semis. We've identified some of the top names there, and I'd love to share that with you. And then as we continue to move on, a couple of other bright spots worth noting. IWM is the Russell 2000 small cap index, and as the vaccine has been rolled out and we're seeing other economic data that is pointing toward an expansion in the economy, small cap stocks are anticipated to participate and potentially regain their upside momentum. So we can see that small caps are up above now these simple moving averages. Your RSI just turned positive, and then your MACD had that positive crossover, poised to turn positive. This is another area of potential outsized strength in those small caps. From here, let's take a look at some other very impactful groups as far as movement that is impacting underlying stocks. Here we're taking a look at the 10-year yield. It is dipping today. Now, ideally, I did want this TNX chart to trade and close the week above this 50-day simple moving average to indicate further upside in yields. We can see that the outside momentum indicators are positive, but the impact here as interest rates rise is you will see bank stocks perform really quite well, and we'll go ahead and get into that in just a minute. Another impactful area this week, and this is going to take us to that one group that I feel you definitely need to be aware of and get in front of. This is a chart of Brent crude pricing. We can see that it did dip here, but crude oil prices were up about 10% for the week, and you would have to go back to October before seeing a gain of that significance in the price of oil. And in response, there are a number of energy related stocks that are just in the throes of outperforming and beginning to advance potentially further in the markets. So let's go ahead from here and take a look at how you can get in front of some of these energy stocks that are really starting to advance. First up, I'm going to very quickly take us to this market movers. I'm using stockcharts.com on their first page here. And quite simply, it's sharing with you the stocks that are up the most today in the S&P 500. So I'm going to ask for that 2-month daily price chart again. This is going to be a nice shortcut because I can see some of the names on here or ones that I did want to share with you. So quite simply, most of the names that are up today are energy related. Occidental Petroleum, Apache, National Oil Well, Fang, and so on. The one name that I do want to share with you, when you are on the lookout for these downtrend reversals, areas of the markets that are just coming into their own, you want to make sure that the stock's price is above these simple moving averages, particularly that 50-day, because you can see where it will have these downtrend reversal attempts be met with resistance and potentially fall. Back here, we had another downtrend reversal attempt that failed rather quickly, but it did advance beyond that. OXY is poised to turn positive. We're getting nice momentum indicators here, but let's take a look at a stock that has broken back above that 50-day simple moving average and would be of more interest. This is Devon, DVN. This was a big winner for subscribers to my MEM Edge report. We identified the stock back in November. It did go on to advance triple digit before we removed the stock from our list. And here we can see it has broken back above each of these shorter term simple moving averages. RSI, MACD are both positive, and the stock is now poised to break out of this nice lengthy base. I will tell you, historical precedent tells us that those stocks that are first out of the gate, first to turn positive, will go on to become your leadership names. One other area that I did want to mention, talk to you about is we looked at the 10-year yield, and I mentioned I would share with you a group that benefits when interest rates are rising. This is KRE, and it's the S&P Regional Banking ETF. We can see it's setting up rather constructively. Now, it's not a super high growth area, but when these bank stocks get going, you can really experience some nice gains. This is another area that subscribers to my MEM Edge report, we were able to identify the leading stocks in this sector back last fall when the group came into favor. And we do have names currently that we view as leadership on the list. So I would say keep your eye on these banking stocks. Some of these bigger bank names, when they get going again, they can really take off. I'm going to leave it at that, and I look forward to seeing everyone again next week. Have a great weekend.
Without simpler trading, I could not have financial independence.
This is one of the best investments I ever made in my life.
It's helping me find consistency.
It's one of the things that won me